Hi guys, welcome to my video. I'm Candace and I'm a teacher, and today we are going to be talking about something that doesn't get discussed a lot in teaching is what happens when you get fired as a teacher. Well, it's not what you're thinking. I didn't do anything wrong. I was actually being bullied at school by another employee. Teachers get bullied very often. It doesn't always get reported. And I chose to stand up for myself and I complained, and I'm the one who got released from my contract. So today, what I wanted to talk about is what happens if something is going wrong and you do complain about it and you are fired, or as they like to say in the teaching world, dismissed or contract not renewed. Well, there's 5 things that I kind of had to get really quick up to speed on what I needed to do when this happened to me, because it had never happened to me before. So those 5 things, starting with number 1, is you want to make sure that you get a idea of what your finances are. Now, teachers, we know, don't get paid a lot, so hopefully you're keeping track of your budget and everything that's going on that way. So if for some reason you do lose your position, that you won't be in such a financial strait that you are scrambling. Now, depending on what state you're in, some teachers can actually apply for unemployment. So let me back up a little bit. Most people, including teachers, don't always realize we are seasonal contract workers. And basically what that means is we have opted to sign a contract from a beginning term date to an end term date, and we are not always eligible to receive unemployment benefits. But like I said, every state is different, and this is a general reference, so definitely you want to check the state that you're in so that you know that if that applies to you, you should do it. Here's what I would suggest as a quick tip: apply anyway, especially if you have been wrongfully terminated the way I was, and then that way you can at least get the paperwork done, because the paperwork is very long no matter what you're doing when it comes to unemployment. Tip number 2, apply to substitute teaching jobs everywhere. Even though substitute teaching in my area only pays about $12.50 an hour, which is extremely low, it's better to get your foot into another door when it comes to teaching. And then that way, substitute teaching lets you kind of go see other schools, meet other teachers, principals, different administrators, and kind of start going back on that preliminary interview type thing to see where you might want to fit in next. Now, I'll do a separate video on the substitute teaching because I learned quite a bit from one state to the next. But it's really interesting that when you apply to be a substitute teacher, you immediately have to pay for getting your fingerprints done. At least in the area that I'm in, I had to pay. And when you don't have income coming in, having to pay something out of pocket to get reemployed, it's a financial hardship. So I felt some kind of way about that. And I'm not gonna lie, I still feel some way about that, because you shouldn't have to pay to work. It should be the other way around. So I'll do a different video update on that one, because I actually did some footage, and I think I still have it to show you. I was kind of like just in a funk, obviously feeling some kind of way, because kind of going back, when I was complaining to the administrators being bullied, I really thought something would get done about my bully. The way they advertise, especially in education, that if you being bullied as a student, speak up, or they want the teachers to speak up. If you're being bullied as a teacher, I haven't found, and it might not just be in my area, where there's really a quick avenue to help teachers. So one of those things is I want to do, not only through this video, is advocate for maybe some other teachers that are out there experiencing this particular situation. So, all right, tip number 2 was go out and apply for substitute teaching jobs, and make sure that you're always polite, you're positive, you're going in, because every person you come in contact with is somebody potentially that can give you a good reference. Which brings me to tip number 3. It's going to kind of piggyback on tip number 2. When you apply to be a substitute teacher and you get reemployed, that employment needs to be added to your resume, because what you don't want to do in any industry is show a gap of employment. So what I learned in the process is add substitute teaching immediately to your resume behind your other full-time teaching position, and then the employment agency or whoever is running the substitute teacher program, because sometimes there are employment agencies that do that and not necessarily school districts. And like I said, I'll spend probably a good video on that, because I had to kind of navigate that process and go through a temp agency, and then they actually were contracted out by the school district. So it's not as streamlined as it seems to be, but I did do that process for a couple districts. And always trying to get your money game up as a teacher, we know that. So when you, one, look at your finances and make sure that you are, making sure your budget's together and that your money's not like all crazy. And then 2, you're reapplying or you're applying to substitute teacher positions. You want to add that to your resume so that you don't show a gap in employment. Leads me to number 3. When you update your resume, make sure, if possible, that you can add some really good references when you're going into those long teacher applications. And I'm definitely going to do a video on the teacher applications, because out of all the industries I've worked in, because I have worked in several, there are the longest applications to do. Sometimes I really have to do them over the course of a day. And I'll probably do a screen share on that one, because if you're new to teaching and you're getting out here thinking it's like a one-page type thing on the computer and you just click away and go, it's not that. It is really long. But in this process, you want to update everything. If you have some people who can give you a really good reference, then make sure you add them when you're doing your application. And one of the quick tips I want to add on this number 3 tip is make sure you add in keywords from whatever job posting that you're looking at. Once upon a time, I used to work in an HR department, and I found out that, of course, all the resumes now go through a digital process. A robot sees them before a human being ever does, and your resume really gets passed over by the robots if you don't see like 5 to 10 keywords from the listing that you're applying for. Even as a teacher, if the listing says, oh, we're looking for somebody who's knowledgeable in classroom management and who could potentially be a reading or math coach, if you've had those types of experiences or you've had that type of education, then definitely make sure you add that onto your resume. So when it goes through the robot that's going to be looking at your resume or reading it digitally, that it will pull up in the system and go to the human resource person at the school district or wherever you're applying. So that's, definitely a quick tip I had to learn over many years, because I would apply to positions I would be really qualified for and I would never get a phone call. So that leads me to tip number 4. If you're in this position and you're job searching again, because right now it's summer and everybody's out enjoying and teachers are off duty, and that's great. But if you're out here job searching, then it's a full-time commitment. You want to make sure that you are job searching every day, putting your resume out there, and not just putting it out there in just any old search engine. Like, there's so many. You want to really be selective about your positions, and you want to add your resume to places where you can actually contact back either the principal, who's probably in the building still, or the secretary. And of course, always make sure you are positive when you are talking to these people, or that you are sending them an email. Email them with your resume, say that you've applied on the website, and then ask for an interview, even if it's a phone interview or a Zoom interview, just so that they know you're excited, because they're getting hundreds of resumes, not only from teachers who have experience, but a lot of new graduates that are coming out. And they're trying to find good people, but also they're trying to find the team layers. And I can't wait to do a video about teaching and team player, what that really means, what it's meant for me, and ask you what it's meaning for you inside of your buildings. So there's a lot of things that I want to unpack on this channel. And of course, today we're talking about, you know, how to recover from losing your position after something happens to you that you didn't have any control over. And I may go back to it several times. I mean, I'm not sure what somebody would have wanted me to do to kind of suck the bullying down. No, that wasn't an option. I documented things, and when I presented it, I really expected that since school is supposed to be so nurturing for students, that I would be under that umbrella. But you know, it's a different atmosphere for teachers, we know that, but definitely the reality of what we're going to be discussing on this channel is going to be really how to be overcoming some of these situations and be encouraged, because this happened a few months ago and I couldn't talk about it. I was pretty angry, upset, every emotion you could possibly think of. I ran around my house going like, why me? You know, I was very upset about, I did the right thing and the wrong thing happened to me. And this happens in teaching, teaching position, and I researched this recently because I hadn't before, because I hadn't been in this position. Teaching is one of the most highly bullied professions out there. And when I find that link to the article, I'll definitely leave it, because, you know, unless it's happened to you, you really don't know how to deal with it. I'm great at advocating for my students, other people. I've advocated for other teachers. I went to my mentor that was in this building and said, this is happening to me, but I didn't know that this person was best friends with my bully. So I found out that after the fact. And it was just a lot going on. And hey guys, I know I'm like all over the place with this, but trust me, I'll get better. I'm still, you know, we're still focusing on these 5 tips on how to recover if you have been fired from a job, dismissed from a job, contract not renewed, anything that says that you ended a school year and you have not been invited back. This video has tips for you that you can use starting today or any day that you view this. And please, you know, like, comment, subscribe. I hope to get a lot of you commenting to see what's been going on in your building and how you might be reflecting on some things. By the way, before I give you tip number 5, nobody helped me when I complained to someone else. And complaining was not about like standing there and being emotional. It was very well put together emails and conversations and meetings. I went to my union. I'm from up north and I now teach down south, and I think I may do a whole series on the different cultural norms that go on when you're teaching from up north to down south. And it was different, but people are people, and I guess pure of heart, I did expect somebody to kind of step up and advocate for me. So teachers, tip number 5, be your own best advocate in all situations, especially if something like this has happened to you. Be your own best employment agency. Make sure that you are going out and apply for that unemployment, because money's money no matter where it's coming from, and at this point we all need it. Number 2, just reviewing really quick, make sure that you do apply for those substitute teacher jobs. Of course, there are other positions you can apply for, but a lot of times people see that you're a teacher on your resume. At least I found this to happen to me. And everybody just thought I wanted a summer position, and nobody really wanted to hire me because they wanted a longer term commitment. Okay, well, apply anyway, but substitute teaching positions are out there now that there's so many things online virtually, that there is really actually a lot more out there, and it is accessible and you can get to it. And of course, make sure you update your resume to include any position that's teaching related, so that shows no gap of employment. Number 4, make sure you're revamping your resume, getting your references together if you have them. I'm fairly new to this area, so I don't really know a lot of teachers, so that was kind of difficult. But what I did is I contacted some of my previous references and I said, hey, this has happened to me and I'm really needing somebody to, still be a reference for me. And so that worked out. And number 5, I started leading into all the emotions that went into this happening, and I'm just now able to really try and unpack it here on this video with you. But you're allowed to be okay, about having this situation happen. And what I mean is, it's okay to realize that you can overcome it. It's okay to have days when you're not okay. It's okay to have a roller coaster and be one day, you might not even want to go back into teaching. I've had a lot of days like that because of really thinking, is this still the right career choice for me? And, it's pretty difficult when you see a system that has already so many things broken in it and you still kind of try to be the guiding light for your students. This happened mid-year, so it was right around the holidays, and my students were upset, but I was tactful about leaving. There was a lot of parent support that was very upset, so I'm very thankful for those parents that really, they didn't know exactly what was happening, but they knew I was an excellent teacher and their students really loved me, and that they didn't want to see me leave in any circumstance. And I was able to connect with them kind of in a sneaky way through one of the messenger systems to let them know that, hey, I won't be returning to the school. And I didn't want to tell them what was going on because one, I was still unpacking what was going on, and I really don't believe in just kind of putting my business out there. So, this number 5 is a little bit longer tip because it's really just about taking care of yourself and realizing that, as you can tell, I'm kind of all over the place with still unpacking the emotions of what happened. But because I took some time for myself, I was able to come up with some viable ways that I have used to re-employ myself, to get money coming back in my pocket, and that I do know have worked. And I hope this never happens to you or anyone of your teacher friends, because it's ugly in any industry, but life is life and people are weak. And if you have to bully somebody, that's showing that you're weak. So my strength comes from friends and family, and knowing that, I'm pushing on and I'm going to keep being motivated and just try and remain positive, even on those days when I'm not feeling extremely positive, because overall I've invested in myself to become a teacher, and you have had a setback, and it's a major setback, but it's not an impossible setback to overcome. So, hey guys, sorry I was kind of all over the place, but I'm definitely going to keep unpacking this situation, let you know how it's been going, and take you on this journey with me. And hopefully you'll invite me on the journey with you, and like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, take care. Bye.